Sunday dinner at Deborah's was never just a meal. The chandelier lit the table, but the air tightened as a stack of forms slid toward Maria. The mortgage application for a $620,000 house landed beside Maria's plate.
The moment she saw the bank logo, her pulse stalled. That file was already flagged.
Maria, this is our dream home. We just need your signature. It's a sure thing.
Justin kept his eyes on the tablecloth, not the papers, not Maria. Larry remained silent, as he always did when Deborah took control of the room.
The flagged file ran through her mind. Inflated income, a shell company for Justin. She couldn't sign. Nobody here knew she worked at the parent bank. She would keep it that way.
You'll sign, won't you, Maria? It's family. Rachel deserves this. We all know that.
Let me take the forms home and review them properly.
She placed the mortgage forms on the counter. The bank logo caught the kitchen light like a silent alarm.
Friday. She had glimpsed the alert on a colleague's screen. The red flag was already active.
Now, she opened her laptop and typed in the identifier. The system displayed the full flag.
Rachel's income was inflated by 320%. The review marked it as possible fraud. Justin's W-2 came from a shell company, an entity with no employees and no address.
She closed the laptop. The streetlights through the window left long shadows on her face.
She would recuse herself at the bank. Tomorrow morning, she would hand the file to a trusted colleague.
She picked up her phone and checked Sarah's contact, then set it down. Not yet. Instead, she walked to the shelf and lifted the framed photo of her grandmother, the one person who had never asked for more than a phone call.
Elena had always trusted her judgment. That memory settled something inside her.
She set the frame back on the shelf. Her grandmother's smile reminded her what inner peace looked like. Maria sat on the sofa, picked up her phone, and dialed Sarah's number. Sarah answered after 2 rings, her voice alert despite the late hour.
Maria? Everything okay?
I need to meet you first thing tomorrow. It's about a flagged file.
7:30, my office. I'll be there.
She didn't ask for details. She trusted me.
She poured a glass of water and stood motionless by the kitchen counter. The forms were still there.
By noon tomorrow, the recusal would be official. Then my family would finally learn where I worked.
She did not sleep that night. The city lights blurred through the glass, and her mind refused to rest. The bank tower gleamed in the early sun. Inside, Maria walked past dark cubicles straight to Sarah's office.
You look like you didn't sleep. What's this about?
I need to recuse myself from a file. It's a conflict of interest. I can't explain further.
Conflict? Family involvement? I'll handle the review, strictly by the book.
Just don't put my name in the review notes. This needs to stay clean.
She slid a paper with the file identifier across the table. Sarah opened the record. Red warnings filled the screen.
This application is already flagged for fraud. Income inflation, shell W-2. You saw this?
I saw it Friday by accident. It's why I'm recusing. My job is compliance, not covering for family.
Maria signed the recusal form on the spot. Her signature made it official. She was out of the process.
The file was out of her hands now. Whatever happened next, she had done the right thing.
Within hours, Sarah completed the review. The rejection was automatic, and a denial email fired to Rachel's inbox. Maria waited in a small conference room, her phone lying face up on the polished table. The screen lit up with Rachel's name. The sharp ring cut through the silence.
You work at the bank? You could have approved it. We lost the house because of you.
I didn't review the file. I work in compliance, not in loan approvals.
Don't lie to me. You saw it Friday. You knew and you let them reject it.
I didn't review it. I am sorry.
Rachel's voice splintered into a final curse, and the line went dead. Maria set the phone down slowly. She knew Deborah's call would come any minute.
The silence in the room was heavier than any shouting.
The phone buzzed again before she could exhale. Deborah's name burned on the screen.
Rachel is home sobbing. You've ruined her life. You should have helped your sister.
I didn't review the file. I work in compliance, not in loan approvals.
If you can't support family, don't expect us to support you. Remember that.
The line clicked off without goodbye. Maria placed the phone face down and left the room. She found Sarah at the glass-walled office, a printout already in hand.
The recusal is logged. You're protected. The rejection will stand on its own.
Protected at work, condemned at home. The two worlds split clean apart.
She left the building in the dark, keys cold in her hand, and sat in her car without starting the engine.
The parking lot was silent, but her mother's voice echoed louder than any engine.
3 days later, a certified letter arrived at Rachel's door. The realtor's cancellation was stamped in red. That same afternoon, the IRS dissolved Justin's shell company. The notice lay crumpled on his kitchen table.
They're taking everything. The house, the business, and my own sister just watched.
Her phone lit up a few hours later with a chain of texts from Rachel. You could have stopped this. You knew the numbers. You let them reject it on purpose. Deborah's voicemail came that evening, left while Maria was in the shower. Your family needed you. You abandoned us. Don't ask us for anything again.
She had never heard her mother's voice so stripped of pretense.
She opened the family group chat. Her finger hovered, then selected Leave Group.
The silence afterward wasn't empty. It was the first clean breath she had drawn in days.
The next morning, Maria walked into the bank with a weight she could not name. The silence from her phone was its own kind of noise. She found Sarah in the break room, 2 coffee cups already waiting.
You look like you're carrying something heavier than a recusal. Talk to me.
My family thinks I betrayed them, but I couldn't sign a fraudulent application.
If you'd signed, you'd be an accessory to felony fraud. The law is not a suggestion.
The words were sharp, but they cut through the guilt like a scalpel.
She threw herself into compliance reviews for the rest of the day, letting procedure replace emotion. That night, alone in her apartment, she lifted the cropped family photo. Only Elena's face remained beside hers.
She pulled up her grandmother's contact, then set the phone down. Not yet.
The apartment stayed quiet, but the silence no longer felt like punishment. The next week, a confidential envelope landed on her desk. The fraud unit had accepted the referral for investigation. That evening, a thick cream envelope arrived at her apartment. Deborah's handwriting was unmistakable. Inside, a card simply read, Easter dinner, Sunday at 2, for the family.
She traced the embossed lettering. The word family felt like a threat wrapped in ribbon.
Larry called shortly after, his voice thin. He hadn't spoken directly to her since that Sunday.
Your mother misses you. We all do. Please come for my sake.
I'll come, but I am not promising to fix anything.
She ended the call and stood in front of the mirror, testing the words she would need at that table.
This dinner wouldn't be about reconciliation. It would be the last time she let them hold her accountable for their own fraud.
She pressed the creases from the invitation and set it on the counter. Her decision had hardened into something cold and clear. Maria spent Saturday morning sorting through her hall closet, looking for old photos she had promised to frame. A shoebox pushed to the back held letters, not pictures. The handwriting on the top envelope was Elena's. She unfolded the first letter. My dear Maria, you've grown into a woman who knows her mind. Never let anyone ask you to be less.
She read the next sentence and her throat tightened.
I will never ask you to compromise your integrity. That is not love.
The words settled into her chest like a stone that was also a blanket.
She pressed the letter to her heart, tears sliding silently. Then, she took a photo of it with her phone, before tucking it back into the envelope. She placed the shoebox back on the shelf, beside the cropped family photo.
Now she had something her mother could never take, proof that love didn't require sacrifice.
Easter Sunday arrived under a brittle spring sky. The wreath on Deborah's door could not soften the house. Maria stepped inside. Rachel's gaze slid away. Justin studied the floor.
So glad you could make it. The table wouldn't be complete without you.
Larry stood near the sideboard. hands in his pockets, gaze fixed on the carpet.
She felt Elena's letter like a second spine, holding her upright.
The Easter table was immaculate, crystal, ham, lilies, but the place where her name card should have been sat empty. They sat. Rachel's knuckles whitened around her fork.
We have so much to be thankful for this year. Let's remember that.
Every sentence Deborah spoke was a test, and Maria had already decided to fail it.
The first dish passed in silence. The chandelier hummed. The meal began.
Family takes care of family. That's the rule of this house. You knew Rachel needed you. You had one job: sign a piece of paper. Instead, you let the bank tear her dream apart. I trusted you. You just let everything fall. You could have warned us before they rejected it.
I lost my business because of this. We had a whole future planned, and now it's gone.
What amount, exactly, was I supposed to commit perjury for? Tell me the number.
The words landed like a stone in deep water. Deborah's fork clattered onto her plate.
She felt something cold and steady settle in her chest, like ice forming.
Deborah's mouth opened, but no sound came. The script had been torn. Rachel's sobbing was the only noise. Larry stared at his plate, refusing to look up. She waited, the silence stretching like a wire pulled to breaking.
I didn't know anything about these numbers. We were just asking for a signature. We needed help, Maria.
Rachel inflated her income by 320%. Justin filed a W-2 from a shell company with no employees. The file was flagged before Sunday dinner.
You should have warned us. You knew everything, and you just stood there and let them reject it. You ruined us on purpose.
I lost my business because of your silence. You could have covered for us. You were the only one on the inside.
Larry's fork trembled in his hand, but his mouth stayed shut. He had long ago learned that silence was survival.
Get out of my house, now.
The command should have wounded her. Instead, it felt like permission to stop pretending.
She pushed her chair back deliberately, the legs scraping against the floor, her napkin slipping from her lap. The room held its breath as she rose, all eyes on her except Larry's. His gaze remained fixed on his untouched plate.
I'm done.
Rachel's voice chased her down the hallway, raw and ugly. The front door was closer than the table. She didn't look back. The afternoon sun struck her face as she stepped outside. Inside the car, she pressed the ignition and gripped the wheel. The engine's hum replaced the screaming.
It was over. The years of swallowing her words, of being the convenient one, done.
She pulled away from the curb, the house shrinking in the rearview mirror. 2 blocks later, she pulled over. The tears spilled before she could stop them. She let herself cry until her chest stopped heaving. Then she wiped her face and checked the mirror. The streets she drove through looked the same, but the silence inside the car was new.
She was free to drive anywhere now. That thought scared her almost as much as it relieved her.
She parked in her usual spot, the engine ticking into quiet. The apartment waited, silent and entirely hers. She unlocked the door and stepped into the dark apartment. The light switches stayed off. She slid down the wall until she was sitting on the floor, her back against the sofa. Across the room, the framed photo of Elena caught the last light from outside.
The letter said, "Love didn't require sacrifice." She finally believed it.
She pulled out her phone and opened her blocked contacts. Elena's name sat at the top. She pressed unblock and watched the icon vanish.
She had blocked the only person in that cropped photo who ever loved her without conditions.
Now, she lifted the phone, her thumb trembling over the call button.
Elena would answer. She knew it the way she knew her own name.
The apartment held its breath with her. She pressed the call button. The dial tone hummed twice before the line connected.
Maria, I've been waiting for this call. I am so glad to hear your voice.
Grandma, I am sorry I blocked you. I needed to hear someone who wouldn't ask me to break the law.
Tell me everything. I am listening.
And she did. Every detail of the flagged file, the recusal, the screaming at Easter.
You did the right thing, my girl. I've always been proud of your spine.
Maria's tears came again, but these ones didn't burn. They felt like a river finally finding its bed.
Can I see you soon? I need to sit in your garden and remember what normal feels like.
Come Saturday, my roses are in bloom, and I have chocolate biscuits, just like old times.
The line fell silent, but the darkness in the apartment now hummed with something else. She ended the call and set the phone on the floor. The silence in the apartment was no longer empty.
This apartment was paid for in cash. No mortgage, no cosigner, no one to answer to.
She opened the family group chat one last time, the cursor blinking on the empty message field. Then she typed 4 words: "I am not your safety net for fraud." She pressed send without a second thought, then tapped leave group. The chat vanished. She slid open the balcony door and stepped outside.
No one in that family would ever own a piece of her again.
The city spread out below her, indifferent and beautiful in the night.
For the first time in weeks, she felt entirely alone. And it didn't feel like loneliness.
She stood there until the lights blurred into a single gold glow and the quiet felt earned. A quiet Monday arrived with a new nameplate on Maria's desk: Senior Compliance Officer. The title steadied something in her.
The promotion surprised no one but her. It felt like the bank's quiet confirmation of her choices.
Sarah brought 2 coffees to her cubicle, grinning as she set one beside the keyboard.
So, Senior Compliance Officer, are you finally taking Saturday off to enjoy it?
I am visiting my grandmother's garden. She promised chocolate biscuits and roses.
That evening, Maria called Elena. The old telephone rang twice in the cozy living room.
The roses are climbing the trellis like mad. You'll need to see them before they take the fence.
I can't wait. It's been too long since I smelled them.
They laughed about nothing: the price of butter, a neighbor's cat, and Maria's cat, and Maria's chest felt lighter than it had in months.
This was life without hooks. She hadn't known it could feel so light and still be real.
She drove to Elena's house on a Saturday when the air smelled of cut grass and sunshine. The white fence and bursting garden looked exactly as she remembered from childhood summers.
Come see the roses. They've been waiting for you almost as long as I have.
They sat on the old wooden bench, Elena's hand closing over Maria's.
Your mother stopped calling me. She finally realized I wouldn't choose sides.
You were the only one who never asked me to cosign anything. Saying it out loud felt like setting down a weight she'd carried for years.
The garden hummed with bees, and for a long moment neither of them spoke.
You built your own life, my girl. That's not something to apologize for.
Maria leaned her head on Elena's shoulder, and the afternoon stretched on unhurried. Later that evening, Maria let herself into the quiet apartment, the small envelope from Elena still in her hand.
Inside was a pressed yellow rose, still faintly carrying the scent of her grandmother's garden.
She placed the pressed flower on the shelf, tucking it beside the framed photo of herself and Elena. She sank onto the sofa, pulled her journal onto her lap, and uncapped the pen.
She wrote 4 words. I broke the cycle.
In the kitchen, she made a simple dinner, steam curling into the quiet as she stirred. After dinner, she curled up with a novel, the pages soft and worn. The apartment settled into its nighttime stillness, the lamps casting soft pools of gold. She reached over and switched off the last lamp. The room filled with soft city light. The silence didn't feel empty anymore. It felt like room to breathe, room to be. When dawn seeped through the blinds, she was already awake and standing by the window. The city woke in layers of gray and gold, and she watched it, her mind finally still. Her reflection met her eyes, and she didn't look away. There was nothing to hide from. She made tea, the kettle's hum filling the silence with something that felt like company. With the warm cup in both hands, she slid the balcony door open and stepped into the cool, hushed air. The building stood solid and quiet, its windows catching the pale morning light. She returned inside, the warmth of the ceramics seeping into her palms, and stood still in the window's dark reflection. Her own expression was soft, unguarded. The silence was not empty. It was the sound of everything she had finally released, and it was enough. The day passed without incident. A quiet rhythm of small tasks and stillness. As night fell, she moved through the apartment, turning off the lamps one by one. Only the city's glow remained, silver and amber, spilling through the uncovered windows. She padded into the bedroom, the floors cool under her bare feet, and pulled back the covers. On the nightstand, the pressed yellow rose rested beside the framed photo of Elena. She lay down, turned on her side, and let her gaze rest on that small, dried bloom, a symbol that something had bloomed in her own life, and it wasn't meant to be handed over. She closed her eyes. Her breathing slowed to the rhythm of a heart, no longer waiting for an apology. The apartment, still and safe, held her as sleep finally came, and the city outside went on. Indifferent and glittering, outside the window of a woman who had finally learned to keep what was hers.